Hi everyone, this is Miss Flynn. Today I'm going to teach you how to do weaving. So the basics of a loom, which is the frame that your weaving is created on, are these warp threads, which are the ones going up and down, and then threads that go across the other backwards and forwards, and those are called weft. I'm going to show you how to do a plain weave today, which is using the weft. So you're going to get a piece of yarn, thread it through a weaving needle, pull out a little tail, and if you want to, so it stops coming off the needle, you can tie it in a little knot. That will secure it. And then you're going to go under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, until you get to the other end. Now when you do get to the other end, you're going to pull your thread all the way through. I'm not just going to start weaving back across here once I've got a little bit of thread left. I have to pull my piece of thread all the way through, because then I've got the wool to work with over on this side. Got this little end here. I'm just going to tuck him in there and put it at the back just to get it out of the way. Then you're going to gently tap the wool down, just using your fingers. Okay, now this is really important, and this is the tricky part. When you get to doing the next row, you need to go the opposite of what you ended up. So if you look over here, it's under the warp thread. This time you need to go over and under the next one. Over, under, over, under. Okay, making sure that each time for a plain weave, it's going opposite. So now when I pull my second row through, bubble it and tap it down a little bit tighter, you'll see that there's one on top and one underneath the warp threads. I'm going to do that a couple more times and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I've done 6 rows of plain weave. Plain weave is also called tabby weave, in case you get confused if you see that elsewhere. Now, you might have noticed I've been doing this arch shape. This is called bubbling, and what this helps with is making sure that the sides don't pull in if you pull your thread too tightly. So to help you not pull your threads too tightly by accident, you pull up on your row, pull it down, create 2 little bumps, and then tap. And that's going to stop you accidentally pulling all your threads in and ruining your weave. The next technique I'd like to show you is called a raya knot. And a raya knot, if you look down here, are those sort of fringy bits and pieces which make your weaving just really kind of stand out and have a lot of texture, and it makes it a little bit more interesting. Now you do need to have at least 6 rows of plain weave to be able to do that, because it'll give it like a nice base to sit on and it'll make your weaving nice and strong. Okay, so this is how you make the fringe for the raya knots. If you want a really long fringe, what I like to do is I hold the string in the palm of my hand and I wrap it around my elbow. I'm going to do that about 20 times. What doing it this way means is that you don't have to cut individual pieces of string over and over again to get the same raya, and it makes it all the same length. So I'm just going to use a white cotton thread for mine today, and there's my wraps. Once I've got that, you might need to get a friend to help you cut in the middle across all the threads. And then you're going to have 20 or so threads of the same length that you can use for your raya knots. So there we go, next steps. So back to our weaving. I'm now going to get 4 strands of that wool, And I'm going to do my rye knot by wrapping them around the first two threads. So you start off here, let me move that closer. You lay them across, and what you're trying to do is create kind of like a little slip knot. To do that, you tuck one side under and through the middle, and hold on to that in that hand while you do the next side. Put your fingers between the threads, tuck it under and pinch through the middle. Even out the lengths, pull it down, and there you have your first rye knot. I'm going to show you one more time. So 4 strands, go to the next 2 warp threads. Okay, wrap it around, pinch it through, pull down, hold on. Wrap it around the other one, pinch through the middle, make sure it's pointing down, and pull those threads down. It takes a little while to get this technique, so help each other out. If you get it quickly, give somebody else a hand so that they can also get it. I have seen people try and put the threads up like this way, put them around like that, doesn't quite work. So just remember, it goes around the outside through the middle, and then around the outside through the middle, pull down. And that's the start of our rye knot fringe. Okay, so I finished my first row of rye knot, and I started on a second row, and I just wanted to show you that you can do any combination of colours. So I've decided to put 2 different shades of blue wool together. Now on your second row of rye, you do need to start on the opposite threads that the wool's wrapped around, and this helps kind of keep the threads from cinching in too close together. So I've gone 1 in on these 2, and then I'm going to go here. See how there's a gap? We'll put the second row of rye in here to just fill that gap, and that just makes everything a little bit neater and a bit plusher, and it just, I like how it looks, and you might not, that's okay. It's just an option that you might take. So again, round through the middle, round through the middle, pull down. Okay, so once I've finished that 2 rows of rye, I then do another layer of plain, and then I'll teach you a new technique called Soumak. Okay, so I finished with my 2 rows of rye knot, and I've tightened them all and pushed them down. Now I've just got to put 1 more layer or 2 more layers of plain weave over the top, and what that does is just locks the rye knot in, so it's not going to move anywhere when you take it off the loom. So bubbling, push down, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over. Alright, 2 rows of plain weave should be enough. Bubble it, push it down, and now we're on to Soumak. So Soumak is a sort of braid looking technique. I've got some under here, I'll see if I can show you. It's sort of a braided texture along here, and it just creates a bit of interest to your work. So I've gotten that same thread again, and what I'm actually going to do, I've got 2 pieces here, and I've joined them together, and going to use them to make my thing. So first thing you're going to do is just wrap the thread around twice, and that's just going to kind of secure it on. Now you get your other end, and you're going to wrap this around the next warp thread. So you're going to go over to the right, under, and pull it through to the left, and move to the next warp thread. Over to the right, put it under, just the 1 warp thread, pull it to the left. So over to the right, under, left. Okay, and it's just kind of creating this sort of twist around each of the warp threads. Alright, so I'm going to do that for every warp thread. Over to the right, under the warp thread, towards the left, pull it through and tighten it. Alright, I'm going to do that a couple more times, and then I'm going to show you how to go back the other way. You might just like to do this once and have this kind of diagonal effect. That's absolutely fine. You don't have to do the full braid. But if you do want to do the full braid, it's actually made using 2 rows. You might notice here that I've bundled up my threads just to make it a little bit easier to kind of flip it under. That way you don't have to pull as many threads all the way through. Alright, almost at the end. Over right, under left, pull through. Okay, so the theme for this one is sort of an ocean theme. I went to the beach on the holidays, so I've been a bit inspired by the blue of the water and the kind of whites of the waves crashing. So that's sort of my idea behind this weaving. Alright, that's all tucked down. Now, to go back the other way, we do one more loop around this last thread here and bring your threads out so they're poking through the front. And then we are going to do the exact opposite of what we just did. So, on the next warp thread in, we're going to go left, under, right, left, under the next warp thread, over right. Okay, left to right. Now it doesn't look right when you first start doing it back up this way, but just trust me, once you get a few going, you're going to start to see a little braid coming through. Some people like to use a needle for this. You're welcome to do that if it works for you. Otherwise, you can just use your hands. So over left, under right, left, under right. And you can start to kind of see, if I zoom in here, that sort of braided effect coming in. So that's really blurry. Trying to get some focus for you. There we go. Alright, again, you can do as many rows as this as you want. It's your choice, it's your weaving, and depends on what you want to do for your design. I'm going to do a full row of sumac here, and then the next step we're going to get up to is learning how to do sort of shapes or manipulated weft, where we don't use all of the warps at once. We kind of have a bit of fun and make some different shapes and textures. Alrighty, let's go.